Hey,
Hello again.
let's see, hang on. Here we go. Hi.
Hi.
Let's see. Okay. You good?
I'm good. One question is, just want to double check. So screen sharing is not turned on.
Hang on.
I obviously don't need to start there, but at some point I will likely share a screen.
I think it would be really helpful to show the demo
Yeah,
because you built a really, you know, something that works, right? This
yeah, yeah. I mean, my probably third highest priority is people go sign up,
You're right.
Second is they want to invest. First is they want to do their philanthropy through it. So, we'll work in reverse order there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with this, we're going to have a live audience.
Yep.
So there often are questions, of course. Uh, but this is, going through the genesis, how this all came about, similar to the podcast, but just so they have context for the background.
Sure.
And I think a demo would be super cool.
Yeah.
And then, talk about the raise and so forth.
Um, Let me just run this by you. So I was going to just show the platform, then a couple of the other features like the games and the groups. That won't take very long. I can probably do it all in 5 minutes-ish. I was going to jump to just a couple of key slides on the deck, which were the market size, revenue model, and then probably the investment slide
Yeah, I think
on
that's
the.
all good for
Okay,
sure.
cool.
Yeah, and we can stay on other parts of the deck to the extent it makes sense and what kind of, questions we have and that sort of thing, or questions that I think of.
Yes, and that was kind of that. So if I need to, what's your revenue and what are your revenue projections? Okay, here's the slide, and then I've also on my other screen got the financials up if they want to go further.
Yeah,
So
good. Let me
good.
just adjust. So I have a group that is, hang on one second. So the fact pattern is there's a nonprofit that is focused on ocean conservation,
Yep.
and they're 25 years old. And you may have heard of them in the terms of uh, their app, which is called Shark Tracker.
Yep. I've heard of it.
And OSearch is founded by a guy named Chris Fisher, who happens to be one of my best friends. And I just stayed at his house before I came into our new house.
Yep.
And I was here in Park City. And
Okay.
on the back of his big ship, it says Park City, which everybody gets thrown because, nobody has a
Yep.
ship in Park City. Um, uh, so he's managed to raise a lot of money and finance this thing. He's had to dip into his own pocket to bridge things from time to time. But he has single-handedly, and I'm going to say this because he's my friend, but it also happens to be true, repopulated the Atlantic Ocean with the great white sharks because of his work in
Yeah.
allowing scientists to come on the ship and do all the tests. And it's really fascinating what he's done.
Yeah.
And today they were just, the shark tractor noticed the largest shark that had been captured by OSearch surfaced up in Nova Scotia, I think it was somewhere.
Okay.
They feed on all the seals and then they come back for the winter, right?
Yep.
And so he just got huge financing for a science center at Jacksonville, Florida. And the university is basically taken on the responsibility to keep it alive beyond him.
Yeah.
So he's achieved his objective of having something survive him.
Yeah.
And he's on the mission to raise money because they continually need money. And so I want to talk to you about how we can help him because he's a friend, right? In
Be
the
great.
context of what you're doing, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And
And so,
yeah, it'd be perfect because I think people are talking about wealth of content as well.
oh, you
You
and
know,
so Chris Fisher had the highest viewed uh, sporting channel on ESPN back in the day.
yeah,
He has a production company, so all the footage is
yeah,
production quality stuff. It's
yeah,
like amazing.
yeah,
Um, and then he is, until Discovery just got sold, he had a show of on Discovery Channel, which is a separate business of his, you know, rehabbing cars or something like that, right?
yeah,
It's
sure.
not his focus, but it's a business that's sort of helped finance part of OSearch.
Yep,
And he is a great public speaker. I've had him at the UN and
yep.
spoke there at our impact conference, that sort of thing. So anyway, I want to just noodle with you on how to help him out.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's a really good guy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. That'd be great. And again, I assume he's this personality because he knows you, but if people aren't afraid of being early adopters, those are the ones that are going to benefit the most.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. I mean, even the group with the family offices, there are a lot that are just probably not the ones to want to blaze new trails,
It's
and
true. It's
that's what
true.
we need is
Yeah.
those brave souls.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I don't know if there's a way to throw his nonprofit in the mix because there are people that recently stepped up and wrote $250,000 checks, got on the board, and they'll do matching fund type things.
Yep.
So I'd like to,
Do you know the actual name
yeah,
of
it's
the,
O Search,
is there, let's see here. I'm just looking them up right now to see if they're on.
OSEARCH. It's huge.
Let's see.
Oh, I'm sorry, OCERCH. Look, I have
Oh,
this.
oh,
Look, I have what is cups.
oh, okay. So it's
That's it.
O'Shea Rich.
Yeah,
I got
Ocean
it.
Search, right?
Okay, let me try that again because I bailed on it.
OCEARCH.
OCEA. Okay. There they are, Park City, Utah. Um, I will actually make a gift for the demo.
That would be awesome.
Small one,
Yeah.
small
So
one,
how does
and I
that
think I'll
show
do it
up?
anonymous.
How does that show
What's
up?
that?
So send me something so I can show him that it happened and so he can see it
Okay, I'll let
when
me
you
do
get a
that right
chance.
now.
Yeah. Like
Yep, it takes two
I've
seconds.
stayed his house over the course of 3 years, at least a year, like when we were transitioning from New York City to Park
Yeah,
City. And
right.
he's super good.
Which which address? The Bevalis group?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll do it
Whatever comes
there.
up easiest.
OCERCH. It's actually funny. I was going to do a matching grant earlier. I should have done that to them. So okay, it you should have it in your email, and then you'll see them. You'll at least see their name. Now, again, they haven't, verified, customized, done any of that. We will do that for them, even if they don't. but it won't happen by the time we do the demo.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to be involved if they don't want. If people want to support them, they easily can.
Yeah, let's see. I want to send this to you.
I did, just a note, I did respond earlier to the email I got from FOI admin with, on the
I
peer
saw
insight
that a
report.
logo thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll change it.
yeah, and I'm not sure if it got through because I'm worried about the DAFshare, how we had that problem. I sent you the note.
Yeah. I'll figure it out.
All right, good. No, no worries. Just,
Yeah,
you know, we're the ones that changed the name in the last, 2 weeks.
no worries. All right, so how do I do this? Send you a message.
Are you trying to send it in
Oh,
Zoom?
yeah, I'm gonna do it right now.
Yeah, there's a message to host and panelists.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, it's computer's acting up a little bit. There we go. There you go. So that was in the New York Post today.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. God, and again, like, what a great argument for a community. We're just going to post stuff like this even before it's in the New York Post. You know,
I
that's why
can't
you
tell
want,
you how many times Chris and I were sitting on the roof of the Soho House in New York City, just having cocktails,
yeah,
and there would be a bunch of chicks that were around us, and we'd eventually engage a conversation, and it would, obviously, what do you do? He says, well, ocean conservation, and they go, yeah, we look at the Shark Tracker app all the time because we go swimming in the ocean, and it's not what it's for, but that's how it gets socialized,
yep,
right?
yep. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I mean, it would be, yeah, I look forward. That'd be a fun conversation. I
yeah,
mean, they have great information, and I think they would attract a ton more people that don't even know there's a nonprofit for that out there,
yeah. That
and
would be awesome. Thank
and
you.
we'll ping some of those big donors to do a matching grant and build it up and, have donors of all size.
This is the magic I think that people need to understand about what you're doing
Yeah.
because you're cross-pollinating others, right?
Yep. Yep. When we're trying to, we thought about more even after our podcast the other day. Just, look at the successful nonprofits. Yes, they have a bunch of big donors, but they still do attract small donors, and so many don't. It's
I was on the board of the New York City YMCA for like 4 or 5 years,
yeah,
and we were always, you know, having receptions at uh, Danielle. I don't know if you know the restaurant, but it's
yeah,
like, yeah.
I do.
And Danielle was on our board. And so
Yeah,
he would open up his restaurant and pour champagne and do French hors d'oeuvres for free. And
yeah.
the only people we ever invited there were the ones that could write $1 million check, right?
Right,
Yeah, right.
right, right. And it's not, I mean, you need those more than ever.
Yeah,
But if we don't start paying attention to the next generation and the smaller donors, those people aren't going to be around forever.
that's true.
And nobody's really, I mean, it's the elephant in the room that nobody's addressing,
Yeah.
you know.
So, okay, here we go. You
All
ready?
right.
Hello, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today for a Family Office Insights Luminary series. Super excited to have Alex with us today, and um, you're going to learn something today that you don't know about simply because it's just started. And Everybody says that, but I'm saying it because it's really a interesting approach to help people donate money and those charities who accept the money. And it's really a FinTech platform that helps accelerate and catalyze those type of donations, either through foundations or donors through DAFs. So, and doesn't have to be a DAF, right? So
Right.
uh, we know you're there, and so if you have questions, you can put them in the chat or the Q&A, and we're happy to get to as many as possible. We have a bunch of folks coming on today, and then we'll be posting the recording. And so if after listening today, you or others that you think would be interested in what you hear today, you're welcome to share that, and of course, connect directly with Alex. And then we're going to be doing another one of these next week. And so you can also keep that in mind. So with that, Alex, thanks for doing this today. Really appreciate it. Been fascinated to learn about what you're up to. And big shout out to Danielle, who was what catalyzed our relationship. So
Yep.
thank you, Danielle, for doing that. Um, let's start at the beginning. Let's talk a little bit about your history journey and how you arrived at this opportunity to build an interesting platform.
Yeah, well, starting early on, I was the sort of cliche of I started my first company in college. That was long enough ago that I was selling websites to people when I had to explain what the internet was. But early in my career and kind of the path of one of my first companies, we ended up getting involved with a sort of planned giving newsletter company. And their idea of growing revenue was buy another printing press. And we said, there's a digital strategy behind this that is really good for the idea of syndicating content. And long story short, it gave me a very early education in more complex gifts and the sort of large donor decisions. And it was funny, even at that company, it was someone would get a big donation from a will or something like that, and then they would ramp up their planned giving marketing, and then nothing would happen for a couple of years, and then they'd cut it off, and then another one would come in randomly. So it was always reactionary, and it never really built something that was sustainable. And so throughout my career, I've kind of played every aspect of the nonprofit side while I was doing my various companies. And it was, from the donor's perspective, I was always frustrated with that same sort of response. I'd make a gift to somebody, they'd bug me for 6 months. I wouldn't hear from them ever, for another 6 months or longer, or it was a piece of mail that I never opened. And so as I saw it from that angle, and then I actually started a nonprofit pretty early on in my career, and just the sort of dysfunction around not having enough and volunteer fundraisers, et cetera. So long story short, it's been a thread in my career that's been around for a long time. And a couple of years ago, I just really sort of made a commitment to build something that addresses the fact that charitable giving hasn't changed a whole lot for the last 200 years, or really the last innovation was just the tax code. And we're going back to the Carnegies and Rockefellers who, said, hey, we should have a tax deduction for the charitable giving we want to do. We should be, self-guiding in that. And that's one of the greatest parts of the tax code. And there are a lot that a lot of us don't like, but that actually is a good thing. It lets people be self-determinate. And um, essentially, we said technology is this great thing. We've seen it innovate everywhere else. And we wanted to build a platform that was around building these communities and really addressing the elephant in the room, which is fewer donors are donating more, and those donors are getting older. And we're kind of losing the next generation. We're kind of losing the, still reasonable income and want to give, but they're sort of they're not being addressed. And if you take it from the charity perspective, you understand. I mean, we dealt with one organization that said, yeah, we have 3 development officers and 120,000 donors. So
Yeah.
So who are you going to call? Well,
Right.
anybody that can write the biggest check.
Yeah.
And the rest of them, we're just going to hope. So we built a platform to address that. We've done some things that are fairly unique to bring those other donors in. And then, the purpose or the reason that we're reaching out to family offices is this is a lot of activity that they're already doing. And if they can if their legacy can not just be the good they do for the charities they support, but the changing of the philanthropy landscape, I think that's a worthy cause, and it's why I'm involved, and a lot of our teammates are involved as well.
So let's talk a little bit about uh DAFs and why they became popular and why they still are, and maybe touch on the next, the transfer of wealth thing and the generation maybe not understanding that. I couldn't be may not be right about that, but you name the company related to that, right? So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit of background on DAFs and trends and that sort of thing.
Well, and DAFs have been around for a long time, actually. I mean, I think the first DAFs, or at least the idea of a DAF, came about in the 70s, and it really was sort of an extension of private foundations. So I often lump them together, even though they're not. They're different types of entities. But it was the idea of let's just create a public charity who can grant to other charities. And in the sort of the legal maneuvers to get around, managing people's funds was, well, okay, you make a donation, and then on the honor system, we're going to fulfill your recommendations. I mean, it's not altogether different than if you gave to say you gave to like a St. Jude and said, but I want specifically a restricted grant that's going to go to cancer research, because that's not exactly what they do, but definitely under their umbrella. That's sort of the concept in its core. I think a number of things happened that have really accelerated DAFs really since I would say early 2000s, even 2010s. And one is some of the tax law changes. One of the things that happened in couple of administrations ago was they changed the standard deduction, as we all know. And so anybody that was working with a financial advisor that knew what they were doing and had a client that was fairly big on generosity would say, hey, here, why don't we stick all this in a DAF? You can still give it away for the next 3, 5 years the way you were going to anyways. But by getting above that standard deduction, we don't have to take it. We get a tax benefit from doing that.
For the whole amount. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think too, as people have gotten more sophisticated with investments, even, especially in the timeline that I'm laying out, I mean, it's really not that long ago that Bitcoin was, not very much money. And so now we're in this phase where people are going, hey, it's doing pretty well. I want to lock in some of my gains. I got to sell them. And then, uh-oh,
Yeah.
I gotta pay for that. And so people are now donating Bitcoin. You look at securities like Nvidia, look at securities like Tesla, and some of the, I don't want to
Yeah.
cherry pick
Low
the
basis
stocks,
stuff. Yeah.
but exactly. And
Yeah.
and the benefit of doing it, I mean, friends don't let friends give cash. So you can do so much more with it. And if you go all the way to the charity, especially if you're supporting smaller charities, most organizations, it's either impossible or extremely painful to get them to do some of those things. They've got to have a friend or somebody on their board that's a financial advisor that can handle the transaction,
Yeah.
and usually they're not ready for it. And I mean, you saw that at the end of last year where Bitcoin hit the 100,000 level and everybody wanted to give Bitcoin, and nobody could take it.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, I know firsthand that the backlog of charities trying to get, a Coinbase account that usually takes about 2 weeks was taking about 3, 4 months, which means it wasn't good by the end of the year anyways.
Right.
So I think there's a number of factors there. And I think the other thing that's happened is it's become less appealing at a low level to create a private foundation. And if your
Because of
purpose
the
really
need
is
for scale.
Exactly. I mean, so now if we rewound the tape back to the early 2000s, a private foundation made sense if you had maybe 10 million at the minimum. And now that number is closer to 50 to 100. Because if your purpose really is just to give to charity and to get the tax benefit from doing it, you don't have to handle all of the admin back end. You don't have to hire the lawyers. You don't have to hire the accountants, and it's all done for you. And so, and I think the other trend that you've seen is a lot of DAFs being created by private foundations as just a budgeting mechanism. We've got to give away 5% of our assets. So if we just stick that in a DAF, that counts. And then we can kind of buy ourselves some time. And in the meantime, through the investments in your DAF, it continues to grow.
So let's get into the that's super helpful. Thank you for context. Let's do a little uh, framing out of the business, and then we can take a look at it so people can viscerally see the fintech at work.
Sounds great. Sounds great. And I'm always a seeing is believing kind of guy. So I'm gonna show what's going on today, right now. This is a live platform. We've been live for a little over a year, kind of in stealth mode. We've had obviously active users, but we haven't been focused on growth for growth's sake at this point. We want to get it right. We want to see it producing the value that we believe it does, and so far it's done that. So
And
now,
there's been people voting with their checkbooks to support you in terms of investors as well, just to be clear.
yes,
We'll
yes.
cover more of that later, but just so people know that you haven't been hanging yourself, in your bedroom to try to finance this thing. You've had some help. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And we have a really solid team that will need to expand going forward. But we've got great people, and again, you don't have to take my word for it. I'd recommend everybody sign up, use it, try it, because I think it's one thing to watch someone else do it. It's when you get involved, you'll be surprised at the things that you go, wait, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And wait, I'm coming back to look again, which is really the problem. I mean, philanthropy in general is a one and done, leave me alone type of
Generally, yeah.
experience right now.
Yeah. Go here. I'm right. Well, it's a family show. So it's like, oh, sometimes they write the check to go away, right?
Yeah, it's true. And actually, sorry, back to my earlier point on the rise of DAFs, that's the other reason, because people want to give anonymously, and if you give
Right.
directly anonymously, you're not really anonymous.
Right.
There's a check, there's a name on the check,
Yeah.
there's
Something's
an
on the check.
envelope,
Yeah.
there's a return address.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think, our platform is really built around the people giving money.
Yeah.
Yes, the charities are the beneficiaries of it, and some of them embrace it. Some of them can't get out of their own way, but it doesn't really matter because the donors are the ones that drive all of it. So I'm assuming you can see my screen.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
great. We've got
So
we've got Monday Night Football all over the place.
we do.
Giants coming in the Eagles tonight.
Oh,
It's
that's right.
exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anybody that wants to get in watching this, you've got to get your first pick in before kickoff. So anyways, and that's just one piece of what we're doing. So this is the basics. I'm just going to walk you through high level. I'll get into the games a little bit, and then I'll cover another application around groups, which groups are really a function, and I'm sorry to use my language for it instead of others, but groups can fit for a business, groups can fit for a group of friends that want to stay connected through their giving, and groups absolutely 100% can work through a family foundation or even a family office.
All right, but
So
before you do the demo, and I'm itching to see it live, and I'm sure others are, but let's frame out the business. Like, what are you in the business of doing?
we're in the business of a couple of things. One, growing donor communities for charities. So every charity, I think there's 1.5 million roughly on the platform. Every charity has their own community where donors come together. And so through that, especially if you're donating to multiple people or multiple nonprofits, you've got the ability to stay connected to what's going on beyond just putting in a form of payment and doing it on a website. And I think it's worth mentioning. I mean, right now that is status quo. Every nonprofit competes with every other nonprofit to sell on their own website. And in every other industry, that's no longer the case. The platform has taken over. If
Right.
you're trying to sell something online and you're not on Amazon, you're not selling very much.
Right.
So, that's really there's the combination or the marketplace aspect of it, and then and I hate to use social media because it's become a mixed bag because of their business model. In our case, there's a social media aspect to it, but the business model is purely on getting more money flowing to more charities and getting people and keeping people more engaged.
Right. Okay.
So, so you can see the little banner, you pointed that out. I'm going to kind of come back to that, but
Mhm.
you can see here, this is just me being logged in with an account. And with your account comes a DAF. There's zero minimum and there's zero fees on the DAF itself. So if you go to a traditional DAF, you're going to get assets under management fee. In our case, there are no fees because when we deliver on our promise of getting money moving more, our business model is on that side of the business. So we'd much rather your investments and the money you raise is giving you more to give away, and the platform is supported that way.
So without giving tax advice, I could donate $1,000 to your DAF and file the corresponding paperwork on my tax return to get the benefit of that.
Yep, back to it's literally just a donation, and
Right.
the fact that it isn't yet recommended to a charity
It's
doesn't mean
irrelevant.
doesn't matter from the tax code standpoint. It's
And I
still
can give cash or shares or can you do that presently?
yep. So right now, and again, there's more coming, but right now the options are you can literally use a debit card, you can use your bank account,
Is-
you can use you can do public securities. We don't yet accept private securities, but that is something that is on our roadmap. And then you can also donate crypto.
Right. So,
So,
hey, Steve, thanks for coming. You can click the three dots on your picture and change the name. No worries. Okay.
so,
Continue. Thanks.
so this is the platform. So here again, I'm seeing what's going on the platform. There was just a gift made literally within the last couple
Thank
of
you.
minutes to OSearch, which some of you may be familiar with. I know you are, Arthur.
Yeah.
And then here's some other examples. Someone just made a gift to Warrior Dog Rescue, just a small dog rescue. And because there was a matching grant in place that automatically triggered, we do matching grants different. It's not the, hey, here's $100,000, and if you raise $100,000, we'll write you a check after the audit 2 years from now. It's literally it's in your DAF, so we're gonna reserve it. And if someone donates $1 or $10,000, you're gonna match it depending on how large your match is.
So that alone, getting rid of the bureaucracy associated with matching is reason enough to be aware of this
Yeah.
platform, right?
Yeah, well, and I think it's the bureaucracy question is very interesting because right now we're getting quite a bit of traction within businesses because they go, oh yeah, we have an employee matching program. It's been around for years and nobody ever uses it because you've got to go down to HR and fill out the paperwork and then HR has to put it in the queue and then the board votes on it and like it our the way it works with our system is you literally reserve the money. You can even give to all your employees in a DAF, and you can match them to anybody they give to. The match is based on the user, not on the charity itself.
Yeah,
So it's funny until you said that I've never thought about it, but one of the biggest things we do is remove bureaucracy and paperwork, which is
totally.
not real exciting, but it's certainly necessary.
Yeah, and I know the idea of holding out a carrot, saying if you get X amount of donations, we'll match it. I get that. Like human psyche wise. But if you know that immediately, if you put $50, it's going to turn into 100, like that by itself is incentive enough, right?
And especially for the donors that are triggering it. Like
Right.
and again, if we have a foundation that wants to do a traditional matching grant, we'll help them do that. We can do it that way, but that's not our default because that immediate gratification of seeing my $50 turn into 100 and wanting to share that with other people, we're putting that experience in front of the person that's making that triggering donation instead of just the email that goes out and says we have a matching grant and you never hear anything until they make it or they don't.
Yeah, and just so I know people are thinking this, the plumbing behind this, where
Yes,
there, in your example, where there was a matching grant, that money is cycled to where it needs to be. Like the paymaster thing is happening in the background, right?
completely.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, and even to the point where we also allow, and you, I think you've experienced this because I think I gave you some money, Arthur,
Yes, you
but
did.
all of this is just making this money. It's almost like taking what a DAF used to be and turning it into almost like a Venmo or something like that. I can give Arthur $50 just to go try the system, and he can go try it. And we've even got things like I can create my own promo codes. So if someone wants to, if I were to do this with my family and say everybody gets $1,000 out of my DAF, just use the code Alex family or whatever it is, then they can do all of that. And same is true at the company level, at the you know group level, et cetera. So
And just to be clear, if you use the $50 like you did with me to do the betting on the football, the reward, the money's still there, but the reward goes to the charity,
yes,
right?
yeah. So actually here, so your timing's perfect. So you can see here, not only do we let people play a game for their charity, and you're exactly right. The rules are all the money goes in the pot, and whoever wins, it goes to their charity. So that's a similar way of just making it accessible. DAFshare is really the core of what all this is. But you can see, like, okay, so here was where the match was created. So if I'm on the system, especially if I'm a supporter of Warrior Dog Rescue, I can see that there's an anonymous matching grant. And then you're going to see a bunch of football here because a lot of people are playing. But I want to get down to one specific point here. So forgive the scrolling.
Take your time.
So here was last week. So in week 5, so week 4 there was a tie. Two people tied for the top prize, and so it rolls over to the next week, and everybody that wants to play can play again. So the prize doubled, and someone won last week, and
This
even
is
it was
cool.
and again, I have a vested interest, but I was literally watching the top two people because it was one person I think with X number of points, and then one with one less. And so you could look at each of their cards. So it's almost like the game is really not football. It's kind of poker
Yeah.
because
Oh,
that second person should have switched their bet because they either would have lost by 2 or tied. So
right. Oh,
and it's fun that it's getting people to come back and remember, hey, there are people out there that are generous, and there's nothing more motivating on your own generosity than seeing someone else done it. It's the reason galas work. Who's
mhm.
going to give $1,000? Stand up.
Yeah.
Keep standing if you're going to give five. I mean, we've
Yeah.
all been to these. We all know that that's one of the things that drives these. And so
Totally.
we're just making sort of a digital equivalent to that. So so that's one piece. The football itself, we also last March did a March Madness. And same thing happened there, where here, let me actually show you one of the results. So the person who won the men's challenge ends up again for I forget what the entry fee was, but $20, $25, they win $3,500 for their charity.
Nice.
And so, and then I can get into more of the games, but our point here is the games that you see right now are actually not as exciting as they will be. It's the underlying game engine that we've built that event, that in this next stage, we will open to other developers. So if you think of all the people who built a game that's never been monetized, didn't get some big production company to buy it and sell it, like there's a whole market of game developers and old games that can be converted to this. And you're literally, in a way, you're playing with real money. I mean, it's not coins. It's not what you are probably doing on your iPhone. It's real money.
Yeah.
So you're playing and the end result is you do some good. It might not be the good that you would have chose, but you should have played better.
Yeah, yeah. You'd just be a better gambler. Yeah.
So, and then just a quick look at the groups. Like, so here, for example, is a group, and I'm going to go back and show you a charity as well. But if you look at a group, you've got basically all the people that are part of a group in here, and whatever they do gets broadcast to their group. So if this were like an office pool, and this is actually, believe it or not, this is a youth sports organization that has their people in it as well. So they can see who's playing for whom, who's given to who, etc. And so it just creates little, the whole thing is a platform to see what's going on across the board. But you have these individual slices like this, depending on if you have a group or, again, a family or whatever it is. And then going back to the beginning here or to what I was on earlier. In fact, I'll show you one specifically that I thought was kind of interesting. I scrolled too fast and lost it. Here. So if you recall, I think it's probably about 6 weeks ago now, there was that school shooting,
Yeah.
and that was at Annunciation Catholic School, and we're here in Minnesota, so that's uh, uniquely interesting to us. And here I'm going to go all the way from the end. They a donor that actually lives nearby. I talked to him about it. Literally put up a $2,500 matching grant the
Nice.
day after it happened.
Nice.
And in less than a week, people piled on, and you can see everyone here. So here was a $50 donation. You can see the matching gift here, donation, matching gift, etc. So it created, a community of people that wanted to help, and
Well,
most of which came from just logging in and that never knew Annunciation School existed, or even that was where the shooting happened. But because they were there and they had money ready to go in their DAF, they said, well, why wouldn't I?
yeah. So let's, it causes me to think about how this is different than people putting out a whatever it's called. I can't remember, where everybody raises money and it's easy for a cause. Um,
Probably GoFundMe.
GoFundMe.
Yep.
So in this case, somebody had money in their DAF,
Yep.
but if they didn't and they wanted to put up that 2,500, they could just immediately create the DAF.
Yep.
And then if I wanted to give my $50, I could give it just as cash, or I
Yep.
could set up my $50 DAF.
Yep. Well, and it's actually even simpler than that. If I don't have an account and it's my first time to the site because I saw somebody say they just gave, I go in, I literally put in my debit card, credit card, whatever, and make the gift.
Yeah,
You don't even really know you have a DAF. There is no setup. There is no any piece of that other than obviously setting the account up and accepting the terms.
yeah.
And what that essentially you've done, what that person has done at that point is put $50 in a DAF that's already directly going to the end charity that they made the gift to. So they end up with a $0 DAF. But now this is also part of our strategy in bringing younger people and lower income people on board is you've got a DAF. Now we have the opportunity to educate you, to explain the tax benefits in doing so, and you've already got one. You don't need to go set one up or figure out what to do. You can contribute to that even if you're just a high income earner, and that's
So
going to benefit you.
do I then take, I'm sorry to get in the weeds here, but I'm just thinking about how you've oversimplified this thing to the point where there's no reason to do anything else, right? My $50 was a zero DAF because I gave the money away already.
Yep.
Do you provide the credentials for me to send it over to my accountant so he makes sure he puts it on my form?
Yep. Yep. You and everything, that gift and every gift you make from that point on goes into basically think of it as your annual report.
Yeah,
And then you hand that to your accountant. Eventually, we will actually let accountants have access to it. We're working on that with financial advisors right now as well.
yeah,
Just so because a lot of financial advisors do more of a concierge service where when Arthur's out on the golf course and says, "Hey Joe, send St. John's 50 grand,"
yeah.
they'll do it for them. And
Yeah.
and so we've got that functionality already, and we're just sort of rolling that out from a sales perspective right now.
Nice. Yeah. So can we look at the one of these football things and see who's betting? I don't want to disclose anybody. I just want to see how it works. Like, how does that
Yeah,
work?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And actually, if you're worried about disclosure and you play the game, that's not really an option because part of
Right.
the game is seeing what other people are doing.
Exactly. Yeah. This is different. Right. Yeah.
So here, I'm going to actually do this from last week's standpoint
That's a good idea.
because we know how that turned out.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so Mrs. Cool won by one, and she beat out a Cabral by one. But if I'm playing and I'm in here, I can literally look at who they picked, who they got right and wrong,
Nice.
etc. So
Nice.
that's where I say half the game is knowing what's going on in football. The other half of the game is knowing how to bet and knowing when to change your picks because the other person, in this case, let me just use the one example. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom because it always comes down to Monday night, right?
Right.
So in this case,
28 to 31. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they picked the Kansas City Chiefs. Problem here is if the person behind Mrs. Cool would have picked the Jacksonville Jaguars, they would have tied. And they
Uh,
knew this a day ahead of time. So they made a bad bet on the Chiefs, as did she. They
yeah.
had no chance of winning.
Yeah. Got
So
it.
even if you wanted the Chiefs to win desperately and thought they'd slaughter them, you would have been better off changing it right before kickoff.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, and again, our whole everything we do is driven by getting people back. You come back, you log in, you see the feed, you're just there to go to football, but hey, wait, denunciation school thing I saw, or we had a little bit of activity around Turning Point when the Charlie Kirk thing happened. And again, staying apolitical with this, it doesn't matter it's what you support, and you literally have to put your money where your mouth is, and then it expose it to other people, as opposed to just preaching about it.
So let's use that example. I want to give to Turning Point. I put up 2,500 bucks in the DAF, your DAF, and now I go out and socialize it with my community and say, come on over and sign up.
Yep.
And then do you do the same? Do you socialize it within the community of your donors?
Well, the platform does itself, first of all, because anybody that logs in sees that activity that you're stirring up. And it's actually a strategy that we teach the charities as well, is the more activity, the more people that are a part of it. Obviously, more people means more activity, but the more you're on the top of that feed, the more attention you're going to get.
Yeah.
And so it's true across the board. It doesn't have to be, a current event. If you're, at a school, it's, obviously got to raise money every year. They're covering scholarships, they're covering stadiums, they're covering whatever. The more activity you have, the more people that went to your school I'm not even on the list anymore.
Yeah.
And even schools are unique too, especially universities. They do a horrible job of talking to graduates. They don't talk to them until they find out, hey, you went to our school 20 years later after you just sold a company.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Then they're your friends. So
Exactly. Yeah.
so by getting people involved early and not having to, again, they don't have the manpower to talk to the 50, 500, even $5,000 donors. They're still involved in that community, and all the way along. So when they become the potentially $5 million donor, they felt like they've been a part of things.
Yeah. So let's talk about uh, well, was there something else you wanted to show us here?
Nope. I can drill in forever. So this is a good
Yeah, well,
pause.
I think this is super helpful to see how it works.
Yeah.
So can you go to the top of the feed and just, if somebody logged in right now, show us what they'd see?
Actually, yeah, you can see it. In fact, this is different than when I was just here.
Right.
So somebody just entered a card for, well, and I hate to expose this, but obviously that's Steve.
Right.
So
It's okay.
Steve's not really on the
Thank you,
webinar.
Steve.
He's playing football for Warrior Dog Rescue. So you just saw that update real time. And even before that, while I was off on the mechanics of the game, someone did the is playing for St. Hubert Catholic School.
Yeah.
And again, so even though that's not a gift, that's just an entry in it, we're still giving that nonprofit exposure.
Right.
So if other people have kids at St. Hubert Catholic School, they're either going to play for them or they're going to give to them.
So if I was the development director at a charity, I would spend as much time as I spend on LinkedIn on
Yes.
this,
Yes.
right?
And I think that's the key. I mean, social media is a great way to get your message out. You won't find a reasonable charity or development director that doesn't have a Facebook page, a LinkedIn page, and things like that. But people aren't there to give. That it's almost a distraction. If you're LinkedIn, you're there for other reasons.
Right.
And sure, there's some benefit in being there and having your name in front of people. Here, this is dedicated just to giving.
Yeah.
And you will see other, if you're the charity, you can post updates, you can see what people are doing. And even if you're just a donor saying, hey, I just went to so and so charity, the work they're doing is amazing, you can write your own post and literally post it to the charity's page. So it's a communication vehicle as well.
Yeah, got it. What's the so there's two objectives here today. One is to cause people to be exposed to the program so they could potentially use it, be donors, DAFs, and have them expose their charities to it. And secondarily, raising money for the company. Let's talk about the business model, how you make money. So one of the questions in the chat is, or the Q&A is, what's the fee structure? And if I'm
Yep.
correct, anything that's done on this side, for example, what we talked to up to this point, there's no fee structure for the company.
Say that no fee structure for the
Like, how do
company.
you make money? Let's just leave it.
Here, and I
Yeah,
actually have a really simple slide for
yeah,
that. So this is basically how it works, right? Donations come in, they're on the DAF and they're on the platform. And there's some things in our roadmap that I don't want to confuse the issue right now, but we do plan to expand this to other DAFs as well. While it's there in our DAF, because there are two entities involved here. DAF Financial is the FinTech that we're raising the capital for. And then DAF Gives is the actual donor advised fund. It's a 501(c)(3) public charity.
right.
And so DAF Gives charges nothing, and it can charge nothing because it's all automated. I mean, this is literally a automated DAF in a box for any other DAF, or if someone's planning on starting a DAF. All of the fees come on the grant side. So it's basically a transaction fee. It's not dissimilar to any of the other crowdfunding networks that you may have mentioned earlier, et cetera. And we charge between 5 and 9%. That variance is based on how involved the charity is. Because you said it yourself earlier, do we promote activity within a charity? And we do. We do a lot of marketing efforts. We build the games. We do everything like that. So we take a fee that's higher if they're not involved, and then lower once they are because they're taking a little bit of that burden off us.
So if is this the right way to look at it? If you're building and they're using your infrastructure within their own community, then that's what they're paying for.
Yep. Yep, yep. And if they're active with it, they're paying 5%.
Yeah,
I think the guideline for cost to raise a dollar is you should be under 35 cents. So the math's pretty easy there. That's
yeah,
35%.
right,
And even if you're just promoting give us a gift on your website, you're paying 3%.
right, exactly.
So, it's a very reasonable fee, and the structure comes in getting people to commit. I think there's the other side of this too, and this is partially not just why DAFs have increased so much, but also why the assets in the DAFs have increased so much. You have trends, and there are a number of studies here that I can get you the specifics on later. But I think the average of how much people give before they have a DAF and after, it's like 65% greater.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say that. It's 65% of the people give more. And it's because it's intentional. I mean, you might get wealthy just getting lucky and building up your bank account, but if you're paying attention to your finances, that's going to be always a better result. And that's the same thing with building your charitable assets.
So this is totally within the scope of, in my view, it's just my opinion, way on the reasonable side. And for the benefit of the audience, how is it that they can help in terms of supporting your business model?
Yep.
Is
Well,
putting you in touch with their charities that they like and give to
yes.
you make sense?
Yes. And I'll just come right out with the ask on this. We are looking for family foundations who are not afraid to be first adopters, want the part of their legacy to be changing philanthropy across the board, to literally do what they're already doing. So if you're supporting a charity, especially if you're in the capacity building grant making space, what you're trying to build is capacity. And this is a way that gives you more visibility into it, and it's really not doing anything different than you're already doing. You already know the charities you're going to give to. We're agnostic when it comes to which charities. If they're your favorite charities, let's help them build a community that does address that issue, that the next generation and the smaller donors are being neglected. And if they don't get in, and again, it's the purpose of a capacity building, right?
Right.
Let's make it easier to raise the money so we can do more of the good. And I think it's just almost true across the board. Most charities are about that mission. They're not about, I want to be a fundraiser.
They're about that mission. And what struck me early on when we started talking about this is that the uh, the intention of charities is noble and good for the most part. Their ability to think like entrepreneurs and business people is way on this side of the continuum.
Yes.
And I not only do, it's been my experience that there's so many resources inside of a charity that never get to the beneficiaries, not because of ill intent. It's just that they do a bad job of letting everybody know what they can do. And
Yeah.
furthermore, they'll never build this.
Yeah.
Like it's just not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So
And even,
basically, you're white labeling their thing that they'll never do that they need, and then they know they need, but they'll just never get around to doing it.
yeah. No, and the marketplace thing works. I mean, I'm sorry to use the Amazon example again, but Amazon made a very deliberate effort to get customers. Ridiculously good return policies, et cetera.
Yeah.
Whatever you think of Amazon now, they're a whole nother category. But I remember buying a digital camera in 1996 off Amazon, going, this is cool. They brought the customers. Now, most of the things they sell aren't even things they sell.
Yeah.
It's the third party sellers that are selling it. And that's essentially, we're taking the same approach.
It's
We get
it's
the,
the it's the the typical conversation about manufacturing distribution,
yeah,
right?
yep,
Amazon's distribution, manufacturing is separate, right?
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Really
exactly.
interesting. All right. So what else did you want to cover on the deck?
I'm just gonna, I won't belabor a lot of this. One thing I think people don't always realize, and obviously they have their little piece of it, but just the size of the market and even the timing of where this is, and I think this will segue into sort of why we've designed the investment we have the way we have. But our real big win here is the fact that between now and about 2045, we're going to experience the largest generational wealth transfer ever, obviously. And we're talking trillions and trillions of dollars. And just to avoid some of the penalties and taxes on that, 18.4 trillion over that time is going to go to charity.
Yeah.
Not to mention the 124 trillion that will transfer to the next generation. And again, getting that next generation involved with the charity that the parents are involved is a great way to have those conversations and to assure that a lot of those organizations are sustainable into many different generations or the next few at least. Um, I think in 2024 we almost hit 600 billion in just annual giving. So even though this feels niche, it's a big niche.
Yeah, it's a big number.
And again, this goes back to your question about donor advised funds. Assets are outgrowing grants so much that this is just it's building on itself, and it's going to be perpetual giving, and even DAFs are being passed down to the next
Yeah.
generation. And a lot of times, next generation don't even know they exist. So this is an opportunity to get people involved while you're alive. And the win for us, although obviously there's some short-term opportunity with 600 billion a year being given away, we don't have to have a gigantic market share to be extraordinarily successful. And I tend to believe that if we do build the community the way we're ramping up to do and we can scale, we we're going to have a decent share of that market, which is far beyond what we're projecting or anything like that.
Yeah. And I don't want to give tax advice because I'm not qualified and I wouldn't
Me
do it
neither.
anyway. But if I'm a modest earner and I give cash to charity, I'm subject to some limitations, right? I have to
Yep.
do the calculation. But if I sign on to DAFshare and I give my $1,000, I don't have to do that calculation. I just automatically have a DAF.
Yep.
I think I'm right about that.
I think so too. Again, I try to stay out of the way of
Yeah.
giving tax advice
Yeah.
as well. So
I'll put enough caveats around that that if somebody wanted to sue me, they wouldn't win. But the I think that is how it works.
well, and if nothing else, that's why DAFs have become so prevalent.
Yeah.
Is just, you know what, I can do $1 amount, and if I'm doing the calculation based on the write-off, I only have to do one transaction. I mean,
Right.
I have a friend sold a tech company, I want to say about 15 years ago, and literally said, "Hey, you know what? I need the write-off. I'm just going to give it away though. I don't like DAFs."
Yeah.
And then between selling the company and figuring everything else. And then the end of the year came by and he went back to his financial advisor and said, "Okay, fine, just put it in a DAF, but I'm giving it away in a year, I promise."
Yeah.
Well, I think it's bigger than what he put in now, and it's 15 years later. And he has been giving, but it's outpaced, the growth has outpaced his giving. And so it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I
Is
mean, yes, do we need to get money to charities? 100%.
yeah.
But if you can create a perpetual giving machine that does it for the next 100 years, why isn't that better?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Especially because it's tax advantaged.
Yeah. I agree.
So anyway, so market is obviously something, just to quick overview. Happy to dig into that more, especially individually. And then the investment side of this. I mean, again, if you're interested in anything and it's the philanthropy, that's what we need. We need philanthropy partners. That's our number one goal for reaching out to everybody. Behind that, If
I'm
people,
sorry. Explain what you mean by philanthropy partners, so everybody
so
understands.
if you're a family office that has a family foundation and does a significant amount of charity, we're working with a number of these so far that we're helping them sort of design how they're going to do based on what they've done, be able to do it here. In some case, be able to sort of test the water before they jump all the way in. That's our main. If all we get out of this is philanthropy partners, we're going to be wildly successful and be able to scale. One of the reasons, it's obviously going to help to have capital. I'm not going to argue that. But one of the reasons that we're doing this simultaneously with the capital raise is because those people deserve to take the ride with us and to benefit from it.
Yeah.
And so the way that we've created the investment, first of all, we're raising 5.3 million. The way we're raising the investment is a convertible debenture. I think most people are familiar with that. They might not all be, but all that basically means is it's treated as debt. You get royalty payments for the next 10 years. And then at the end of 10 years, you decide whether you want your principal back or whether you want to convert it to equity. And a lot's going to happen in those 10 years, but most importantly, you're continually getting, and again, my lawyer would be yelling at me for saying royalty, but basically a revenue share payment every quarter as as we ascend.
Yeah.
And so that's
Totally
how we
makes sense.
organized it, and that's the investment part. And we'd love to do that, and we'd with some of the family offices, we'd especially love to do that with the philanthropic participating family offices.
Yeah. Totally makes sense. And so, what do you think will happen? And I'm asking you to predict, so we're not holding you to anything. When will the next round be, or will there be one?
It's a good question. I tend to believe, depending on how quickly we do scale, that if growth is fast, then we need more money faster. I think that's going to be, call it 27 maybe. But the other side is if we're in for the long haul, right now with this round of funding, you look at the numbers here, even this is a good slide to have up for that question. We look at our runway with zero revenue, and we already have revenue. But based on just spending the raised capital, it gives us 21 months and it gets us to a point where we're break even or at least cash flow positive. And
And
so,
what's really interesting, if you look at these, the tech part of the spend is, you know, 30%.
yep, I think that's fair.
Uh,
That's fair. The
which
the tech is probably, it depends on how the games go. Because the games budget is considering we're going to make a few, maybe make one a quarter, and we're probably going to have to outsource that to other game developers. But part of the reason we're doing it that way is because those other game developers are those ones that go, hey, this might be another way to monetize it.
their
You know,
stuff.
even
Yeah. Yeah.
even when we go back to our 5 to 9%,
Yeah.
without that, there's no reason for a game developer to get involved. They want to make money on this, just like the reason I make an iPhone app.
Yeah.
Apple's still going to take 30% of that, but here we're allowing them to get some of our fees. So we have to have some margin in that.
Yeah. My sense, and the reason why I pointed that out is that the tech stack is largely built.
Yep. I would say that the core is largely built.
Mhm.
The increasing the capacity to do other things. I mean, we're not limited to what we're doing now. We actually had one gala where there were 5 screens around the venue, and all they had up was their feed. So every donation that came in real time,
Nice.
mostly from people that were in the room,
In the room.
but
Nice.
also from people who couldn't make it.
Yeah.
So there's that, there's auctions, there's there's so many aspects of this that the infrastructure that we've built can support. Then now it's figuring out how to hit all those different pieces because you never know where the hot button's going to be and where you're going to gain additional traction. And that's the reason why, to your point, most of this is in business development.
Yeah.
I might even consider games as business
Business
development because
development.
that's
Yeah.
marketing, you know.
Right.
So in that case, we're at about 20%. You're right.
Yeah. So how far along are you in the 5 million? I think you just started, right? 5.5.
Yeah, nope. We just kicked it off. We did have a previous round where we raised just about 1 million or a little bit over. And that was with kind of the typical friends, family, up people who are using the platform, people that are, generous, philanthropic, et cetera. And that was enough. And I think if anything, because I've seen other tech companies, both in the philanthropy space and outside, our efficient use of capital to build, launch, and continue refining this thing is hard to match. I mean, we have built a lot for a very little, and
How,
so now we need more money to scale our operations, and we need those partners to scale the communities.
got it. What is the time frame, if you had to predict, to be able to take in private shares?
That's a that's a phenomenal question,
It's my
and
best question of the day.
well, it might be, and here's why we haven't done that to date. Because as a startup focused on the tech, focused on delivering on the value, we have not overspent on lawyers. I mean, we've had to spend some, but
Right.
we do not have lawyers that are part of our daily operations. And we don't have enough support people because that is an incredibly human capital intensive process.
Yeah.
And I already can, I know how we're going to do it. I already have it. Basically, the way it works is if you're going to give private shares, we will hold those. But if for some reason the sale doesn't conclude and they're not able to be liquidated, you have to have a buyback agreement as well. And so we have a lot of those things. What we don't have is right now the funding to support both the internal infrastructure and the legal infrastructure that's going to be required for that. Along those lines is also real estate, art, anything that you can donate, we can do. What we've started with are the ones, and it may seem odd that crypto is so early on that list, but from a tech standpoint, crypto
Crypto's
is great
easy. It's easy.
because
Yeah.
everything can be automated, everything can be done through an API.
Yeah.
So that's what we focused on. And I mean, even some of the lessons we've learned along the way, you know, one of the things that when we started this, we worked with an RIA to manage the funds. They used Fidelity. And it wasn't until we got involved and were trying to automate things that we realized like Fidelity's kind of a locked box.
Yeah.
You can't automate even pulling down what the portfolios are worth. So we've had to pivot. We've had to kind of change the way things are organized. And I think too, it's always striking to me how a lot of other businesses don't understand what a DAF is. They treat it like a brokerage account where you're managing other people's money, and it's
Well,
not. You
that's
know,
how a lot of people have treated it who have the money and don't want to lose it.
yeah,
Right.
right, exactly,
The management
exactly. But
company.
so I mean, I think that we've learned a lot by doing it and getting it out there early and then adapting to it.
Yeah.
And now I think we're pretty solid, but on getting things scaled, so we're not going to have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
There's other tech. I'm a techie at heart. If I had my way, I'd just do the tech. But
Yeah.
here I am.
Right.
But there's always going to be improvements. There's always going to be changes to the underlying, systems and things like that
Yeah.
we can improve. But I understand the importance of having and a fintech structure that opens new opportunities that don't exist today.
Exactly. So, Steve, if you're in a position to say hello real quick, because we have to wrap it up, if you'd like to. Uh, Steve, just hi. Tell
Oh,
everybody what your role is in all this.
my role, I'm kind of the business operations side. I've got a background in finance, banking, marketing, that sort of thing. Not in tech, but I'm a 8-time startup founder myself, so I'm a serial entrepreneur as well. And as Alex often calls me, I'm the adult in the room when we have to make decisions about money and things like that. So it's been a great partnership. We've been together for about 2.5 years working on this project. Um, and I feel like we're at a really interesting point in the development of the company and also what's going on in the marketplace too. I think the timing is could not be better. And very excited to meet you, Arthur, and you know, connect with some of the people that you work with. Um, I think the future is looking really bright.
Yeah, I'm really happy to know you guys as well. So, I think what it's fair to tell everybody that if you want to learn more, we can put you in direct contact, and we will, uh, with Alex and Steve. And then next week we're going to be doing this again. So if you give a heads up or alert to your colleagues and friends that might be interested, and then we'll be posting the recording as well. So we do have to run, guys. So Alex, that was awesome. Thank you,
Thank
Steve,
you.
for piping in there, and we'll look forward to doing it next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, everybody, for sharing with us. The only thing you can't make more of, and that's your time. Till next time. Thank you. Thanks, guys. That was great.
Thanks. Bye.